Once the passport stamp tour of Santa Rosa Island was done, we moto-taxied back to the dock, found our faithful boat taxi captain waiting as promised, and finally boarded the boat for the 2-day trek upstream to Iquitos. As soon as we were aboard and found a place to hang our hammocks, we were quickly approached by a distinctly dressed man who introduced himself by insisting to show us how to properly tie our knots, despite the fact that my Eno's fancy straps were self-securing and adjustable. I have to confess, his knot was impressive. The outfit was religious, almost biblical. They were probably part of a religious sect called the Israelites of the New Universal Pact, whose Amazon spiritual center is based in Alto Monte de Israel, a village whose significance, other than the peculiar welcome sign and its out-of-place name, I had no concept of when we stopped the next day. Eventually, Francisco asked about my religion. When I replied agnostic, he immediately cooled, then politely but clearly disengaged. I assume he thought I said atheist. We ran into him again later on and met Francisco's traveling companion. We just called him Jesus. Considering the religious connotations, I'm not so sure that was as witty as I thought. These two also sailed all the way to Iquitos, and if there were any supposed atheist bias held against me, it didn't show. They hammed it up for the camera quite a bit. But ever since that day, I've wondered if the seemingly altruistic knot-tying help was a missionary's attempt to see if I was open to some proselytizing. Like God's bikers in North Carolina back in the day. In the end, we stressed about time for nothing. While our boat was scheduled to leave at 7, it didn't sail until almost 8. See, that's how Latin America time works, until you get cocky and think you can factor it in. Subjective schedules are a Latin American delicacy. As we glided into the river and started the leisurely westward trek toward Iquitos, I was psychologically flooded with something weird would carry into the next day. But for the moment, it was time to go above and bask in a perfect jungle sunset. When people imagine the jungle, one of the first things they think about: bugs, being bitten, eaten alive. As the sun went down, the boat's underway, I was prepared to be deluged by these minuscule predators. To my surprise, I never was bitten by a thing. As you can imagine, without a full moon, you can't see much of anything at night in the rainforest. The boat stopped rather frequently to swap both passengers and cargo. So occasionally you get a little glimpse of what's going on, but really not that much. To put it mildly, it had been a day. We'd left Bogota, flown to Leticia, found the taxi over to Santa Rosa, gotten on the boat. We were fine just settling in to decompress.